Hey everyone, and welcome back to the RedefineFX YouTube channel. So today I just want to share some of my favorite 3ds Max shortcuts to help you speed up your workflow. So we're going to start with some of the basic ones that you may already know about. So Alt W to make your viewport full screen or minimize it. So again, that's Alt W. Then what you can do inside of your viewport is just do F4 for etched faces. So again, that's F4 for etched faces, or you can do F3 for the wireframe override. What you can also do is Shift+F to enable save frames. So that's the same thing as clicking on this perspective and then enabling show save frames. Now, whenever you lose track of your object, maybe you zoom out by accident and you just can't find it, you can always just hit Z to bring that currently selected object to view. So again, if you lose it, you can just hit Z on your keyboard and bring it back into view. Then of course, if you just want to do regular undo, that's Control Z. If you want to do redo, that's Control Y. So again, Control Z to undo, Control Y to redo. Now sometimes you have your view just the way you like it. So let's say this is your camera angle that you're happy with, and then you just move it by accident and you just want to bring that view back. You can actually just do Shift Z. And this will undo just your viewport view, right? It won't undo anything you did to the object. It will only bring back the camera view that you had, right? So again, if you just find a camera view that you like and then you mess it up by accident, you can always just do Shift Z to bring that view back. Now, out of the basic shortcuts, you may already know W to translate or move. In other words, you can do E to rotate, and then you can do R to scale. So that's WER. Now, whenever you want to just get back to your regular selection tool, you can hit Q. So that's this one. If you watch this one here, that's the select object. So again, if I select R to scale and I want to get back into selection, I'll just hit Q to get that selection tool back. Now, whenever you're in your perspective view, you can just hit F for front view, T for top view, or L for left view, and then you can hit P again to get back into your perspective view. So again, that's P for perspective, F for front, T for top, and L for left, and you can just switch between them whichever viewport you're in. Another one is clone. So you may be used just right clicking and say clone, but you can actually just do Control V to make a clone in the same spot of the same object. A bit confusing is Control C. Control C doesn't copy, it actually just creates a camera. So if I do Control C, you can see it creates camera from view. So right now I'm watching the Fizz camera 01. So if I hit perspective view, the camera is here. It was created with that Control C shortcut. Now, another tool that I use all the time is the align tool. So you can just select an object that you want to align to something, and then you can do Alt A and then just click on the object you want to align it to, and here's your align selection tool. So I can just do, center, align orientation, all that. So again, that's Alt A, but you need to have an object selected first. So I'll just select this, do Alt A to enable my align tool, align selection, OK. So as far as saving files, you are probably already familiar with Control S just to save your scene. You can also do Control Shift S to save file as. So that's the same thing as going under File and Save As. So that's helpful. But even more helpful is Control Alt S, which will automatically create an incremental save. So right now, if you watch here, I have my tutorial shortcuts 02. If I go here and I do Control Alt S, it automatically created an incremental save. So now I'm at 03. So this is much faster than just going under File, Save As, and then you click on this plus sign to create version 04. So again, that's Control Alt S to save increment of your scene. Another one I use all the time is Shift V to create a preview, but I personally prefer the type preview that comes with TypeFlow. So what you can do is go under Customize, Hotkey Editor. So this is where you control which shortcut is assigned to which action. And I can just type Create Tie. So there's the Create Type Preview action. And for the hotkey, I'll just say Shift V. It says it conflicts with the animated sequence. So I'll just remove that. And I'll just assign this to the type preview and say Done. So now when I do Shift V, the type preview shows up under that shortcut. And this gives you a lot more options as to what you can do. Another one I use all the time is isolation mode. So if, let's say, I want to work on just this cube and I don't want the blue one to be in the way, I can do ALT+Q to enable isolation mode, and then you can do CTRL+ALT+Q to get out of isolation mode. So again, that's ALT+Q to enter, and then you can either click on this little button here to get out of that, or you can do CTRL+ALT+Q to escape isolation mode. Next up, you can just hit M to open your material editor, right? So if you hover over this, it tells you material editor M. You can also do F10 to open your render settings, and then you can do Shift+Q to render your current scene. So again, Shift+Q to render your current scene, F10 to open your render setup, and M to open your material editor. Another useful one is just the number 7 on your keyboard, not on the numpad, but where the symbol for and is, right? So this just shows you the statistics for your current scene. So you get your frames per second and the amount of polygons. So this can be very useful. So again, that's just the number 7. Another useful one is Shift+J for those selection brackets. So I think this used to be just J in the previous versions, but now it's Shift+J to get rid of these selection brackets around your objects, which I always turn off because it just feels too messy with them. So again, Shift+J. You can also hit G to hide the grid in your scene. So again, that's just G to hide the home grid. Now, the next one I want you to know about is CTRL+ALT+X, which enables the expert mode. And this is something that I enabled by accident when I was new to 3ds Max and I couldn't figure out how to get out of it. I had to Google it, and it took me quite a while to figure this out. So if you do this by accident, that's again CTRL+ALT+X to enter the expert mode, and the same to get out of it. Now, if at any point you just want to hide all of the geometry in your scene and maybe just leave splines or whatever else, you can do Shift+G and it'll hide all geometry. But if you go under unhide by name, it's actually not here, right? So this is not the same as like hiding your objects. It just sort of makes them disappear temporarily. So Shift+G again to hide geometry or bring it back. Now this also works for lights, so you can do Shift+L to hide or bring back all of the lights, and you can do Shift+S to hide or bring back the shapes. So again, that's Shift+G, G for geometry, so Shift+G to hide geometry, Shift+S to hide shapes, and Shift+L to hide lights. And it works for helper objects too, so that will be Shift+H, right? So it's always the first letter. Now, if at any point you lose track of your home grid, maybe you're used to, just like me, just going up here and clicking on this little home icon, which will bring you back to the home grid. The shortcut for that is just ALT+HOME. So if I do ALT+HOME, it'll bring me back to that home view. Now, if I just make this an editable poly for a second, I just want you to know that you can do 1 for vertex, 2 for edge, 3 for border, 4 for polygon, and 5 for element. There is a whole set of shortcuts just for 3D modeling. Anyone who is an expert 3D modeler will just be using shortcuts because it just makes modeling that much faster. We're not gonna get into that right now. I just want you to know the absolute basics. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. To access the different elements of an editable poly. Now, if we return back into the material editor for a second, you can just hit M again to bring that back. And let's just make a physical material. A lot of times you will find yourself clicking assign material to selection. So actually with the material editor selected and your object selected in the scene, you can just hit A and it'll assign the material to selection. So again, if I change the color here, right? So again, that's A to assign material to selection inside of your material editor. So these are just some of the shortcuts that I use all the time. I hope that you guys learned some that you didn't know before, or at least you refreshed your memory. As always, I would appreciate a thumbs up if you found this helpful. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.